Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Say hi when you get here. Let me know if audio's good, video's good. Hey, I really think today is gonna be, it's gonna be one of those streams you're gonna wanna bookmark, reference, come back to. It's just gonna help a lot of people out. It's gonna be very, very, very valuable. We got Steve Deacon in the house, Jason, good to see you, Patrick. Case, David, and BC. Azora's here. Isara? We got to get this pronunciation down. Nicholas in the house. Jason Eugene is here. Pablo, good to see you. Dahunzi, as always. Manny. Okay. All right. We got a good crew. Absolutely. You gotta bookmark this one. You gotta bookmark this one. So let me give you the agenda. It's a very simple agenda today. We are going over a 5-step framework for building what you see online. Like you see something, I want to build that. Where do I start? Because there's this, when I watch people or when I talk to people or when people ask for help, one thing I notice is they consistently say, I don't know where to start. And then if they do know where to start or you give them a starting point, they'll do a little bit. They'll be like, I don't know what to do next. Or they'll be doing things dramatically out of order, like focusing on things that you really don't need to focus on right now because you haven't done these other things, And so if you just had a framework of like, what is step 1? What is step 2? What is step 3? Because it actually doesn't matter whether you're building a card or a button or a section or a template. It's the same steps over and over and over again. And you should do them in the same order and you should do them the same way. That's how consistency happens. And that's how you do less thinking. You don't need as much brain power if you just do the same thing over and over again. It's just, so if we had like 5 steps and we just followed those 5 steps every single time, regardless of what we're trying to build, we're good. And what you're gonna find is that because of the order of the steps, even if you get stuck, or even if you end up in a place where it's like, all right, this is a problem, I'm not able to solve it right now, you can actually move on to something else, which we are gonna talk about, because most of you are agency owners, most of you are freelancers. And what that means is time is money. And what that means is if you get stuck, you can't spend a day trying to solve that one thing and get nothing else done. And so we have to recognize when it's time to move on to something else. But if you're using this framework, you're gonna get all of the basics done and you're only gonna get stuck after like a lot of work is done. Sometimes people will see like a carousel or something and they will start with the functionality of the carousel and they get stuck and it's like, okay. And then they look up 2 hours later and it's like, what have you built? Nothing. So like the cards that go in the carousel, not built yet. The structure of the carousel, not really there yet, right? You got all tied up in this functionality, came to the conclusion that you don't really know how to make it work yet. And the result is that you've built nothing. And you never want to be in a situation where you've built nothing. You can at least build the basics, right? Because the functionality can come later. So we're going to work on this 5-step framework, and I think it's going to be great for you, especially if you're the kind of person who looks at something and they're like, I don't know exactly where to start. Or if you constantly get into something and then you're like, I don't know what to do next. Or clearly I've done things in the wrong order because I'm undoing things that I previously did. This is going to be a real like value stream for you. Definite bookmark, definite rewatch. Come back to it over and over again. Okay, if you're not able to comment, I think I changed the settings on chat. As long as you're subscribed to the channel, you should be able to comment. Not like a member of the channel, just a regular normal YouTube subscription. But this ensures that, trolls and bots and all that nonsense, you have to be a subscriber. You have to be in the tribe, okay? Okay, let's go ahead and check chat before we get started. We're gonna go over the framework. And And then we're gonna start building stuff. You are gonna see, how this thing comes together live and in person. I'm also going to be testing out, let's see if we can get it on the screen here. Let's see if you guys can see this, okay? Let's do this right here. Can you see this? Does this come through the stream? I'm gonna be testing out this new little annotation tool that I found 5.5 minutes ago. So I don't know how to use it yet. But the first thing is, like, the most important thing. Oh, shit, they can't see it. Oh my gosh. That's the problem with some of these tools. You can't see them. Okay. I don't know why you can't see that. I don't know. I can see it just fine. Okay, it's all right. I'll just turn it off. We're not going to use it then. Okay, let's bring up, I really wanted to be able to write on the screen. Whiteboard. There's no, what's that, someone help me out with the name of what's the wire, the cheap free wire framing tool. I always forget the name of this thing that everybody uses all the time. And anybody? Oh, I'm not sharing anything. Well, that's, that would be the first fucking step. Like, the first obvious step. Thank you for the hint, by the way. Some people were like, no, we can't see what you're drawing. No inclination that you can't see the screen at all. Just, we can't see what you're drawing. Okay, thank you. Let's try this again. Excalidraw, thank you. Yes, Excalidraw. All right, so we're gonna try it one more time. Maybe, can you see that red box? I mean, I see it on the Ecamm stream, so I think it's good. But there's some times where I do like zooming effects and people are like, and then I'll even do them in recordings sometimes, and then they're not even in the recording, even though I watched it happen on the screen. Okay, great, fantastic. Well, that saves a ton of issues. Okay, so let's go with step one here. Step one is going to be structure. By the way, the trigger for this is caps lock, and then it has to undo my caps lock as I type. That's kind of annoying. I'm gonna try to figure out how to fix that, hopefully. Okay, so structure is gonna be step number one. We're always gonna start with structure, and structure does require some knowledge. Look at this, I can't even select it in here. I think all this shit is vibe coded now, and it's just all absolute trash. Let's do this. Yeah, let's type again. Okay. Step number 2 is gonna be semantics. Okay? Can you even select these things after you and move them? Wow, it's even laggy. Like, oh my gosh. Okay. All right. This is the Wish version, the Temu version of a screen screen annotator. Okay. You have structure, then you have semantics, okay? Then you're gonna handle selectors. By the way, I put this in the description of the video. We're gonna try to avoid typing as much as possible. It's a very annoying experience. Can you make the text bigger? Well, yeah, see, you guys asked for a lot. Here, I can do this. How about that? Okay? Look at this. I gotta select it, then I can drag. Select it, then I can drag. Okay, hopefully this is getting better for you. Okay. This is an experiment that we're quickly gonna see. Oh, can I erase? I have an eraser. Let's try. Oh dear. Okay, that's fine. That's no. Okay, great. Whoever's watching this, if you're the developer, 1 star. 1 star. Okay. All right, let's do another one. Okay. What comes after selectors? After you have managed your selector situation, you're gonna do your styling. Okay, let's make this nice and big like the others. Okay, and then after you have done your styling, you are going to do your scripts, which I'm wondering if we should call states, like the state of things and the state changes that you might need to manage. I don't know. I don't know what the best word. Well, this is a on-the-fly framework philosophizing, okay? All right, we don't know. Things may adjust, but I like the fact that we have 5 S's. It's pretty good. It's pretty easy. It should be, should be pretty easy to remember. Okay, so structure, and here's the thing. Again, doesn't matter what you're building. You're literally gonna go step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. Great, I'm done. On to the next thing. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5. Great, on to the next thing. Step 1, step 2, it's just over and over and over again, rinse and repeat to death, okay? Now, here's what we're gonna start out building. We are going to build this little FAQ section, okay? Obviously, with FAQs, you would be looping these types of items. Do you start with the loop? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You should not start with the loop. We are going to start with structure. So here's our little list right here, which I'm about to clear out. So remember these in your head: structure, semantic, selectors, styling, and states, okay? I'm gonna clear these out, and we're going to always start again with structure. Now I'm gonna go in let's get this off the screen. I'm gonna go in here, let's get us a page going. Let's go with FAQs, publish, edit, okay? And we're off to the races. Okay, so let's go over and see, this will be the next thing that we build right here. Okay, and this is kind of an extension of last week's live stream, if you watched that, or the live stream 2 weeks ago. I can't remember which one it was, where we did some frames layouts, but we're putting a lot more structure into how we're approaching this. Because again, people watch, but they're still, when it's time for them to do it on their own, they still don't feel so confident, right? This is gonna help you with that confidence. So we see something like this. What is the first thing we're thinking? Structure. Don't worry about how it's styled. Don't worry about anything other than structure. And so what are we looking at from a structural perspective? Well, we see two things side by side, okay? If I draw, and structure, by the way, means boxes. All right, so if you didn't do Page Building 101 and you didn't watch the training called Everything is a Box, probably one of the most fundamental trainings you could possibly watch when it comes to web design, this is based on that. You have to just see in boxes, right? So obviously we don't literally see any boxes, but when we look at layouts, we need to be able to visualize boxes. One big box, right? And this big box, I don't know if I can actually select it after this is absolute trash. Yeah, why would I want to select a thing that I've put on the screen? Why would you ever want to do that? All right, let's change the color. It's all right. That box actually is like touching. Maybe I'll just redraw it. I'll just redraw it, because let's make it as accurate as possible. Okay. Here we go. I'm gonna do this. That's the real box, okay? Because it doesn't have any padding, it doesn't have any, none of that stuff, okay? So that is the real box. Now I'm gonna go and grab a different color for the next box. Now, in order for these groups of items, whenever you see groups like, hey, it looks like those things live together. Okay, and it looks like these cards live together. Well, in that case, if that's happening, more than likely, they are in a box of their own. Okay? So you have two more boxes inside of that main box that you're gonna need. Now the question is, does this need another box besides this red box? Doesn't seem like it. For what purpose? For what reason? Doesn't seem like it, so let's not add any more over here. But if we look over here in this group of cards, obviously, right, these cards are gonna be a box of their own. So I'm gonna go with yellow this time. So you're gonna get a box for each of these cards. Now notice that the dividers are not part of the cards. Those are just other elements that are inside. You could think of them as a box of their own. Let me maybe grab a different color for those. So let's go with green. So that divider right there is like a box of its own. That divider right there is a box of its own, okay? Because everything is a box. An HR is just a box, okay? That's all it is. Looks like a divider. It's just a box, I promise. All right, it's nothing crazy about it. Now, when we get to semantics, maybe there's a difference there. We'll see. But we're not worried about semantics right now. We're worried about structure, okay? So, do we see anything else that might be a problem? I do. Once again, I see content next to other content. If you see content next to other content, gotta be boxes in there going on somewhere, okay? For the most part, right? They might be doing some fancy grid shit. Don't worry about that, okay? Just worry about just general structure right here. Now, the real question is, do I have a box? The lag is out of control. I'm on quite possibly the most powered Mac you could get. And this little app that draws on the screen is struggling. Is it this kind of situation? Because it could be this. It could be box like that. Or is it this kind of situation? And in order to answer that question, you would probably be clued in by some alignments, right? Like the response and the actual response, the response heading thing over here, and the actual response text should probably always be aligned with each other perfectly, right? That would clue me into this is a group and this is a group. It's more like a this box situation, right? If you got into this situation, quite possible, not always, you know, quite possible that these things could potentially get out of alignment because they don't really live with each other, you know? They live next to each other. They're neighbors. They're not siblings, you know? They need to be, siblings live in the same house together, right? Neighbors just live next to each other. You understand? So that's kind of the situation. I would guess, probably not that, probably more this, right? Now, if you make the wrong structural, you know, assessment, it's okay. You can go backwards, right? You could fix it. It's all right. But you got to start somewhere. Because when you get to styling and you're trying to style and you're like, fuck the structure up, right? That's when you can go back and fix the structure. That's fine. The styling might clue you into like, all right, you didn't really guess the structure all that well. But that's okay. That's okay. We're definitely not going to start with styling. We're always going to start with structure. We're going to do as much as we can. We're going to do it as best as we can. Then we're going to move on to step 2, which is semantics. Then we're going to move on to step 3, okay? And you get the picture, right? Okay. So, I'm going to go here and here. We'll just leave this and then here, right? That's going to go all the way across and then here. And by the way, I don't know the answer. I mean, I just based on experience, I'm just guessing that this is probably the best way to structure it. I built this frame probably 2 years ago. I don't remember exactly how I did it. I'm just looking at it and I'm trying to figure out, okay, what's our boxes situation? What's our structure situation? Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is hide that for now. So there you go. This is what everybody sees. This is what Bev sees, right? And then this is what like a developer needs to see. Well, like, okay, here's how I'm going to think about building this. This is the structure that I'm going to go for. Okay. So let's go back into here. Let's add our section because that's what we're doing, right? Let's see. I would consider how they would need to stack responsively. See that the responsiveness is a styling issue. And if you get the structure right, you're almost certainly not going to have much of a problem at all on mobile when it comes to actual responsiveness. Okay. So let's see. What else are people saying? Second situation could stack on mobile. Ladder situation, class not last child list. Green boxes, Gutenberg, two other boxes inside. Can divider be after? Yes. We will talk about dividers. We will talk about dividers. For sure. You will not be using the spacer element in any builder. You will not be using the divider element in any builder. I think the divider element and the spacer element should go away. They should. The divider element, maybe sometimes there's a use case for it. The spacer element, never. That was the spacer element, one of the worst ideas in modern page building web design. Okay, in this case, I'm probably prefer using an HR instead of borders. Yeah, we're not going to use borders though. We're not going to use borders. I would not use borders for dividers. Do not use borders for dividers. There's a better way. The HR element, not a fantastic way though. However, I mean, there are some situations. We need to talk about it. It's not a never element like the spacer, but it is a, you should think twice about it kind of element. Okay, so here we go. We got a section and we got a container. That container, by the way, if we go back to here, is our big red box or the orange box on the outside. That is put there by default for you whenever you are doing a section. What we need is the inner boxes, okay? So there's a flex div and a flex div. So there's box 1, box 2. We are going to put the content in. That's part of the structure, okay? So we're gonna go back here and we're gonna look and we're gonna, this is an iframe actually, so I can just steal it. So we're gonna get a heading, text, and a button in the first box. So here's my first box right here. We're gonna get a heading, we're gonna get a text, and we're gonna get a button. We're gonna put that in. I need to open this ACSS. We did a change, color assignments. I bet they are, let's go dark relationships, text, there we go. We are no longer using the trans variables, so we need to get rid of those. Base dark, base ultralight, okay, those should be good. Let's save. Okay, now I can actually see my text. All right, perfect. So I've got my first box right here, which is gonna have my heading, and that's gonna say FAQs, right? And then I'm gonna come in here, this is my second box, and what is this gonna have in it? Well, this is gonna have a card, and this is what you have to get comfortable with, okay? We're gonna, as we do this, you're gonna see it's going to feel kind of chaotic, and this is why people jump right to styling, because they're like, I can't do all this structure stuff if I don't style. But you need to be able to. You need to get to a point, you need to force yourself to be able to. This is the slightly uncomfortable part of building that will dramatically improve your workflow if you can get comfortable with it, okay? So I have a div right here. Now, the one way you can get more comfortable, okay, is to start naming things. It is way more chaotic if you just have generic labels over here and you don't know what anything is, okay? So like this flex div right here, I would say content wrapper. If I know that's my content wrapper and I can collapse it down and say, okay, that's my content wrapper, I'm good. I don't need to be in there right now. What's this gonna be? Maybe the card list, okay? Because if I look at the thing, this is just a list. It's just a list of cards, okay? It's not a grid. Grid, kind of describes like a grid-based layout. It's not what I'm seeing there. I'm seeing a list of cards. That's it. So I'm gonna call it a card list. And if I can see that I have, when I collapse these down, a content wrapper and a card list, okay, now I'm bringing some organization to the chaos here. What is gonna go inside the card list? Well, a card, okay? Let's add a flex div and let's just say card. Now let's look at the card. What is gonna go inside of the card? Well, we hypothesized that it would be like a row and a row, right? A row and a row. That's what we're gonna start with. Do we know that's the final answer? No, nobody's got a crystal ball, but like that's our best guess, okay? So if I need a row and a row, I'm going div and a div. And then I'm gonna say question row, and I'm gonna say answer row. All right, question row and answer row. If I look at this, that's a question row, that's an answer row. You could call it a response row, whatever, the names don't matter as long as they make sense, okay? And as long as you need to ask yourself, if I looked at this 6 months later, would I know what the hell's going on? Because if you're using names where it's like, well, I know now, but like, that's not gonna be very clear 6 months from now, you probably need to improve the name, okay? So here's a question row and an answer row. And I'm gonna call this a FAQ. I keep hitting the caps lock, which is the trigger for those, the annotation. Okay, fact card, FAQ card, and I got a question row and I got an answer row. What is gonna go in the question row? We got this little label. Now these two things look exactly the same, don't they? So they could probably share the same name, That's probably a label and a response. Or just label. So label heading is gonna be in the question row. So I'm gonna add text for the label, and then I'm gonna add a heading, okay? Which could, by the way, be text. Let's just duplicate this text. Because sometimes I fast forward into semantics because I already know what the semantics are gonna be, and so I do the semantics at the same time. But if you don't know yet, then don't worry about semantics. Just, hey, text now. The one caveat would be if you're using a builder where the elements are not, what would we call them? Like transmutable, like they can't, like one element can't become another element, then you kind of have to do semantics and structure at the same time because you have to make element choices based on that. But in Etch, everything is a box, which means a box can become any other kind of box. So it doesn't really matter. And text is a box, and heading is a box. They're just boxes with special labels. That's all they are, okay? And any box can become any other box. I'm gonna show you at any time, all right? So we'll just do text. And we'll call this label, and we'll call this heading, even though it's not a heading, right? And then I'm gonna come down to the answer row. What do I need in my answer row? Let's just do 2 more texts, label and answer, okay? So I've got label, heading, label, answer. There's my, and they're grouped. There's a question row and an answer row. I look at the, do I need anything else? Is anything else in that card? I don't see anything else. I don't see any images. I don't see any other text unaccounted for. I don't see any links or buttons. I don't see anything. I think we did what we needed to do, okay? So now what we're gonna do is we're going to go on to step 2. We've done step 1, that is structure. This is the structure, done, okay? We're gonna go on to step 2, which is semantics. Let me check on the chat and make sure we haven't lost anybody, okay? Let's see. Okay, we're still debating spacer elements and dividers over here. All right. Okay. I don't think you would actually write question plus response labels for FAQ. I don't think you would actually write, I don't know what that means, David. You're gonna have to clarify your comment. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna say question, and we're gonna say response. We can put some, you know, we can put some actual content in here. That is part of the structure, and it does help quell the chaos a little bit because you can see what's supposed to be what when you do this. If everything is generic on your page, then it's a little bit harder to decipher what's going on when you look at it. Okay, I think we are good. So I'm gonna go ahead and save our progress. So here's how we go on to semantics. When should I use a flex div versus a normal div? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. If you don't know, then just use a flex div. How about that? If you don't know, then just use a flex div. You gotta be a little bit more in the know to use a normal div than a flex div, okay? Flex div, little bit of a shortcut element. It's gonna do a little bit more for you, okay? So if you don't know, then just use a flex div. And then as you learn, you'll learn when to incorporate the actual div later. Okay, semantics. Somebody says, what does semantics mean? That's exactly why you're here, okay? So we're about to go over that right now. So if you see here, this is a heading. I'm actually gonna make that a paragraph, okay? Let's have no semantics. In fact, let's make this a paragraph too, okay? Okay, there we go. So we've got all these things, which by the way, I don't know. I might have just broke it. Maybe we have a little bit of a, let's go back and see if that, no, that took. Okay, it did, the builder didn't like that. When we went from an A to a P, it didn't like, it cried a little bit right there, but we're all right. It's still saved, it's still refreshed. Look at this, I've got a heading, text, link, div, PPP, div, PPP, okay? Even the P, by the way, paragraph, that is a semantic tag. So technically, we have a little bit of semantics going, but that's all right. And that's what a builder does for you. It's handling some semantics when you click on certain elements, okay? But I'm trying to flatten this out as much as possible with regard to the semantics so that we can go through and apply proper semantics. So let's collapse a lot of this here. We've got our container, right? Which we'll call inner, and then FAQ section. I got fat fingers today, so I'm hitting tabs and things like that. So there's my FAQ section with my inner. Then I have a content wrapper. Look at the boxes being highlighted on the screen. Then I got a card list. Then I got a card itself, okay? And then I got a question row, and I got an answer row, okay? Now what we're gonna do is handle the semantics. So I'm gonna come in and say, we can do this item by item or element by element. Is it good or okay that this inner is a div? Well, I'm gonna open it up and I'm gonna see that inside of it I have a content wrapper and I got a card list. So yeah, like that's fine being a div. There's no other special tag here that would amplify the semantics or the meaning of what we are building, right? So now I'm gonna go into content wrapper. Div or something else? Is it okay that it's a div? A div, by the way, is just a generic box. There's really no meaning behind it. It's just a generic box. Is it okay that this is a generic box? Yes, it's okay that this is a generic box. We can move on, all right? We're gonna come in here. We're gonna see this. Heading, text, link. Should a heading be a paragraph? No. No, there are heading tags to denote that something is a heading. So we have to clean up the semantics right here. What kind of heading is this? It's an H2 heading, okay? We are, this is interesting. I'm good. I'm glad we're doing this because we can see a little bit of a bugginess behavior in that I have to refresh the builder to get that. It's not every tag, it's just some tags, it seems. Okay, there we go. So I made it an H2 heading. You can see it looks different, but looking different doesn't really matter. Okay, the semantics and how things look are completely separate. Why is it an H2? Let's just do a pop quiz. Why is it an H2? And just whoever's first on the keys, go ahead. All right. Let's see what people say. Why? I mean, it could be an H3, it could be an H4, it could be H5, H6, H1. We got a lot of options. We got 6 different options. Why is it an H2? Why is it an H2? Okay, so Sylvia says only one H1 on the page, and we are making an assumption right now that this is not the hero section, okay? If this was the hero section, this would be an H1. If there's already a hero section with an H1, then this is just a normal section. A section heading by default should be an H2, and then any other headings inside of that section, you're looking at H3s, okay? Okay, good. So yeah, so David says questions are gonna be the H3. All right, good. So yeah, just a little explanation there. Now, if this was for some reason the hero section, because this is the only thing that's gonna be on this page, maybe it's an FAQ page, there's no other sections, then absolutely you would go H1 here. Now the semantics are H1 instead of H2. But you gotta know like why you're making these decisions, okay? Now I'm looking at this text right here. That's a paragraph. Looks like a paragraph. Smells like a paragraph. Should probably leave it as a paragraph. Here's a link. Is a link a paragraph? No, no. This is an A, okay? So I'm gonna change that to an A. That is the semantic tag for a navigational link. Now we are gonna make it look like a button. Like I can put a class on here, button primary, and the biggest mistake I see is people will do this. Well, I mean, it looks like a button. I guess it should be a button. Okay, let's do a pop quiz. Very important. When do you use button? When do you use link? And by link, I mean A, right? So, but look, like visually nothing changes. A, it looks like that. Button, it still looks like that. Nothing's changing. Does this even matter? Why are we even talking about this? Okay. Buttons for, okay. So I'm gonna grab the answers that are closest, okay? Links are for navigation. Buttons are for, not modals. I mean, yeah, but not just modals, right? Button for control of the site. Not the best way to describe it. Buttons for triggers, kind of getting close. Buttons are for on-page events, right? It's good if you use words from other areas, like on page, like that's like a, that would be more of like a JavaScript kind of term, right? But if it's an on-page event, which could be a modal opening, it could be an off-canvas sliding in, it could be a lot of different things. It could be a facet or a filter, right? If you're filtering or faceting content on a page, you're not going anywhere. Those things are done with buttons. If you're going somewhere, like it's gonna say like this would be like contact us. Okay, contact us. All right, so that's obviously gonna take us to a contact page. That's navigating us somewhere. Got to be a link. It's a navigational item. So there's your A. So now we're gonna come into this card list. Okay, now, whenever you are listing things, hey, this is gonna be a list of something, then there are semantic tags for lists. And so we're gonna have two different tags at play here. One is the type of list, and then the other tag is the list item. Now we have something in Etch where I can right click and say convert to list. There's also though, before I do that, I have to look at this FAQ card and wonder, is this essentially standalone content? Like, can I take this out and put it somewhere and it still kind of makes sense? And if that's the case, it's a recommendation to use like an article tag. Now, you can do basic semantics and you can do much deeper semantics, right? We're not gonna go into the deep end of semantics in this because it just adds more confusion and complexity, and then people like tap out and they're just like, fuck this, I'm just going back to divs, right? I want you to at least start to incorporate, like, get the basic semantics right, and then you can worry about deeper semantics later. So we're not gonna over-engineer this by making this an article and then putting that in a list. We're just gonna leave this as, we're essentially gonna make this the list item, okay? And so right here, I can right click, I can say convert to list, and what it does is there's your UL, which stands for unordered list. You can have an OL, which is ordered list. That means they need to be in order. So like 1, 2, 3, like if you were gonna number the items, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the order matters, then it's an ordered list. If the order does not matter at all, you're definitely not gonna number them, then it can be an unordered list, okay? So it's denoting that, yeah, this is a list of items, doesn't really matter what order they go in. Think of like a grocery list, okay? I need milk, bread, eggs. Does it matter that I could put eggs, bread, milk? Does that change the fact that I'm going grocery shop? No. Like the order of the things does not matter. So unordered list. Doesn't matter what order we ask or answer these questions in. They're just Q&As. That's all they are, okay? So that's an unordered list. And then by default, every direct child of an unordered list must be a list item. If you're gonna build a list like this, okay, this is wrong. This is an error. This can't happen. This is not how things should be done, okay? So if you have a list situation, you must have LIs as the direct children of the list. Don't put anything out. No div, no nothing, no spans, nope. Only LIs, that's all that's allowed, okay? That's all that's allowed. So you're always going LI here. Then inside of here, I have my question row, label heading. Well, one thing you can ask yourself right off the bat is like, the heading of this card, should it carry the same weight as the label? Should it be like semantically as important as the label? Or is there a way to make it more important, right? We can make it more important by making it a heading. And it's gonna be a heading 3 instead of a heading 2 because we've already used a heading 2 in here, right? We're gonna go heading 3 for all of these questions because when somebody is looking at the logical nature of this, okay, let's go to the front end and let's go to here, for example. Why did that come up? Let's do this. Okay, there we go. So you see how we have the content right here just listed out, right? So ignore login credentials, need more time. That's like this admin bar up here. Here's our actual structure. See, it's very organized where you have this section called FAQs and then you have each question inside of that. If you were only scanning headings, this would be the best hierarchy to look at, okay? Like, what if all these were H2s as well? Let's check out what that would look like, okay? So I'm gonna make this an H2 and let's actually duplicate this FAQ card a bunch, okay? So I have a lot of those. Let's go back to the front end and let's pull that up again. So I'm gonna bring this here. Can I zoom in on this? There we go. Look at this. What, just ridiculous confusion. What are we doing here? What are we doing here? I don't know what the hell's an FAQ from the FAQs. I don't know what's going on here. Nobody knows what's going on. People with screen readers, Google's trying to crawl your site and make sense of this shit that you built. What are they gonna think? That doesn't make no sense. There's no hierarchy, right? There's no organization. Now I come in here, I'm gonna come down. Let me, these are not in a loop yet, so they're, all manual. I'm gonna go ahead and go, oh, you know what I can do? Let's go card list. Let's go, H, we can just do H2, H3, okay? Replace all, bang. Okay, all right, great, fantastic. Now we'll go back to the front end, refresh. Look at that, we don't need multi-cursor select. Okay, now look at this. Oh, now, okay, all right. Now it makes sense, right? I can see exactly what's happening. I wish these windows would stay open. All right, you guys understand? Like it's kind of important. It's kind of important. Okay, so we've done is there anything else with semantics? Well, the label thing to me, it's like, it could be a paragraph or it could be a span. Like that's really the other option for this is a span. You wouldn't want to see a div here. It's just not a div. It's not a div. But a span is like an inline thing. It's like an inline div, essentially. It doesn't really mean anything. But I do like to separate it out from, it's not a paragraph in itself, though it could be. I mean, some people would argue that it is. And would it be like totally wrong if you left it as a paragraph? Not really, not really. So like, it's not really something to stress over, as long as you got all the major stuff correct, okay? All right, so now I think we could call it done, right? So now, like, what are we gonna do next? Answer row, label, answer. Let's go on, let's move on. I think we've done enough. So we did the basics of the semantics, okay? Let's go do chat here. And before we move on, make sure nobody's lost. Do we have any questions? Let's see. Every time someone mentions QR codes, I think back to, okay, I don't know why we're talking about QR codes. I'm gonna move on. I use a Chrome extension called Social Media Icons, business card without handles, okay. Skill tied for that, heading levels amongst other things, really good to have, okay. All right, good, let's move on. So we're gonna do selectors. Here's the great thing about selectors. Now, you could go through, and when I say selectors, we're not going ID level, obviously. That's what, like, see, you know why I put selectors in here? Because if you're using, let's say you're an Elementor user, you're a typical Beaver Builder user, you're a typical Divi user, typical those kinds of people, right? They're gonna skip this thing called selector. They're gonna go right to styling. You know why? Because those interfaces not just allow you to style everything at the ID level, they encourage it. It's an atrocity. It's an absolute atrocity, okay? We need to add thoughtful selectors before we start styling. So what makes a thoughtful selector? There are a lot of ways, and we want to use classes primarily. It's a class first kind of situation. We want to default to using classes. That's just fundamental CSS. How do you come up with a thoughtful selector? There are a lot of opinions people have about how to name classes. I'm gonna do a video very soon called BIM is Still King. And it is the undisputed heavyweight champion of naming classes, okay? For very good reason. There are a lot of people that will hate on it. I would encourage you not to listen to these people. They will throw out some convoluted fucking methodology that they prefer. There are some people that just like to go against the grain. They just like to, I don't do the thing that's worked since 1998 really well. I prefer to do it my own way. You know, it's the same people who they'll see a framework like automatic CSS and be like, oh, I see that does basically everything I need at the click of a button, but I don't want to be that guy. I want to live on my own little island, right? So I'm a special person on my own little special island, and I don't want to do things that just work, right? I just want to do things my way. There's those kind of people. They are gonna lead you right off a cliff, okay? This BIM has worked since literally classes were invented. I don't know, 2004, 2005. You can look it up when it came out. It's reigning champion since then, okay? Undisputed. It's like Anderson Silva in his prime. There's not a lot of competition with it, okay? It just works. It just makes sense. It just checks all the boxes, okay? So you have a block, you have an element, and you have a modifier. And the modifier part, you rarely even use. You don't even really, I'll just put it separate because you're rarely even gonna need it, okay? And the way the structure works is this, block, element, that's it. And you name the classes like this. Really, it would be block for the block class, and then blocks have elements, okay? This flattens your CSS. It's just the undisputed, and it can be semantically named. You can look at it 6 months later. You can look at the names of the classes, and by looking at the names of the classes, already know in your head what the structure is without even looking at the structure. That's how good BIM is. That's how organized and sensical BIM is, okay? So, you can debate this forever, but why? Like, it just kills me that it's like, you have this thing that makes so much sense, and there's still gonna be people that are like, nah, I don't like that. It's just like, okay, all right, well, fuck off then. Like, that's kind of where you get to. Okay, let's see. Selectors means naming. No, selectors does not mean naming. I mean, it's part of selectors, but that's not all of selectors, okay? But what I was getting at is the good part of this is that when you've named everything in the structure panel, you've essentially also kind of come up with most of your class names, okay? And you can even use a tool like AutoBIM, create BIM classes, where it will create the selectors for you. But I'm gonna go through, I don't like to do this, it's not enjoyable, but I'm gonna go through one by one by one by one, and I'm gonna write the selectors out so that, because if I just AutoBIM this right now, people are gonna be like, what the hell? What magic just happened? Like, I don't understand. They're gonna be totally lost. We're gonna go through one by one, but by going through one by one, you're gonna see why AutoBIM exists, because this is not fun, okay? Now, some people will be like, that's not fun, so I'm not gonna do it. Okay, so you're not a professional, right? Because the professionals, they check the boxes, they cross the T's, they dot the I's, okay? They don't go, well, that's not fun, so I'm not gonna do it, and then create this absolute disaster, because the alternative to not doing selectors like this is chaos. That's it. So you could create order, or you could create chaos. And the part of creating order might not be super fun, and you might think of this as slower. Like, okay, I'm naming things. Oh my God, I'm organizing? That slows me down. Again, fuck off. Like, this is like what, the mechanic can't be like, oh, I don't like that part, so I'm just gonna skip it. And they don't fix the crack, or they just, oh, I don't like that part. Well, fuck off. Like, you signed up for this. This is part of the work, okay? Like, you can't be like, organizing, selectors. Yeah, I'm just gonna do my own thing. Yeah, you're gonna fuck it up. That's what you're gonna do. And then I'm gonna come along, then the person's gonna hire me, and I'm gonna have to inform them, your entire site's a dumpster fire and it has to be rebuilt. That's what's going to happen. That's the alternative, okay? So stop making stupid excuses. Like, just do it right. And the more you do it right, guess what? The faster you'll do it right, okay? And then we have tools like AutoBIM, where it's like, wow, I could do the boring part like that. As long as I organize my structure panel, I'm good to go, okay? But the answer is never, we just cut all the corners, I use the softball example all the time, because I feel like I'm talking to children when we have this conversation. And so that brings me back to being a softball coach. And I'm explaining to them, when you're running the bases, guys, you actually do have to touch the base. Like, your foot's got to touch it. Like, base 1, base 2. But Coach Kevin, it'd be so much faster if I just didn't have to touch the bases. Yeah, well, we're not fucking playing softball then, are we? Right? That's a different game. You could go play tag. You could go, what do you want to play? But that's not softball. Softball, we got to touch the bases, okay? See, same conversation. All right, here we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to add the selectors. Now, when you're adding the selectors and you're doing BIM, the hardest part is what is a block and what is an element? What is a block? What is an element? Okay, we got to know the difference. So we're gonna start with everything closed. I am looking at one single thing right here called a FAQ section. I'm gonna open it. Now, if you want to know if it's a block or an element, right? You look inside of it, and that's going to start to give you a little bit of a clue, and it's also going to give you a clue on the next thing down, okay? I see an element right here. I see an element right here, okay? And this is the topmost level item, okay? Almost always a block. Almost always a block. It would never be an element because it's not a child. It's not in something else right now, okay? So it's got to be a block. Like, I have no choice. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna hit Command Enter in Etch. Okay, like adding a selector is gonna be different regardless of the page builder you're using. There's some way to do it, but the method might be different. I can click this button right here. I can hit Command Enter. I can do whatever, and you're gonna see this little thing pop up on the screen, right? And it says, hey, you can add some classes or ARI labels or whatever you want to add. So I'm gonna add a class. Now the question is, what are we going to name it? Guys, it's already named. The thing you labeled it, that should just be the name of the class. So I'm gonna come in FAQ section, enter, okay? And then I'll zoom back out. And we can see that I have put a selector, there's the class right there, okay? And if I come over here, there's the badge, here's the CSS waiting to be written, okay? But I'm not gonna style yet, that's not the part we're on, right? It's not, we're not gonna go there. We're not gonna do that, don't do that. You're not ready for that yet. You're not ready for that, okay? Now, I'm looking at inner. Is inner a child of section or is inner its own thing? Can I pick up inner and put it somewhere else and it still makes sense? Or does it really need to belong in fact section? If it really needs to belong in FAQ section, it's just an element. It's a child element. That's what it is. So I'm gonna hit Command Enter. I'm gonna do fact section, double underscore, because this is an element, right? And I'm gonna say inner. So this is an inner that belongs to fact section, okay? And you denote that it belongs to it with this double underscore. And this creates a visual separation that your brain will learn to interpret very quickly as, I'm looking at elements, it's not a block, okay? So fact section, inner. I'm gonna go ahead and add that, okay? And I can see it right here, here's the badge. All right, next, let's take a look. What do we have? We have two things in here. Content wrapper, card list, okay? Content wrapper, card list, okay. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna say, it seems pretty generic. I mean, it's not its own thing. It kind of lives with this fact section, right? So fact section, content wrapper. I'll start to speed up a little bit. Fact section, you can even do this. I do this trick a lot. Before I had auto BIM, I take the block and the stem and I copy it to my clipboard. And then I say content wrapper. And then I come over and I say fact section heading. That is in fact the heading of the FAQ section. And then text. I didn't really do this very well, right? Maybe I should call that something more specific than text. This is like the section lead, okay? The lead for the section. So I'm gonna do fact section lead. And then this, link, kind of generic. This is more of a call to action. So I'm gonna say fact section CTA. And so now I have selectors. These are selectors right here. That is a selector in CSS. I have added selectors for these items, but I gotta keep going. So now I'm gonna go down to card list and I'm gonna ask myself, could I pick up this card list and put it somewhere else? Or does it have to be in this specific FAQ section? And now the answer changes. I think I could actually take this concept of an FAQ list and just drop it somewhere else. And so what I'm gonna do is instead of calling it card list, because that's super generic, I'm gonna call it FAQ card list, and that makes real sense because there's FAQ cards inside of it. And I am going to make it its own block, okay? If you are familiar with atomic design principles, you're essentially picking up this thing, okay? This group of things, like a molecule, they call it, right? And moving it somewhere else and putting it down, and it still works. And it still is styled the way it was always styled, and it still makes sense, and it still looks good. Everything, nothing breaks, okay? So this is its own block. FAQ, card, list, just like that. No underscores, because it's a block, okay? And we're just separating. Does anybody know what this style of naming things is, what the dash is? Do you pop quiz, do you know what this is called, right? We could have done this. Why didn't we do that? We could have done that. Why didn't we do that? Why are we doing the dashes? And why are the dashes standard? Why should you always use the dashes unless you're doing elements, right? Kebab case. There you go. Okay, that is the technical name. Why? Because it looks like a kebab. Look at you, got your meat, your veggies, okay? All on your nice little kebab right here. You see it? Okay, it's nice and cute. All right, so we're gonna call it FAQ card list. FAQ card list. All right, now, I've got a bunch of FAQ cards in here. Are these, they are children of the card list, but what if I wanted to use an FAQ card not in a list? What if I just wanted to, maybe I wanted to do a featured FAQ card? Not in a list with others. We're just gonna feature one. Well, seems to me it needs to be able to live on its own. It needs to be its own compartmentalized thing, right? So I'm gonna say, not this, not this, not that, because that's signifying that this card is a child of the list and belongs with it and should be with it at all times and should not live outside of it. That's what an element is. An element is something that has to live inside of its parent thing, okay? That's not the situation we're trying to denote here. I'm gonna do this. It's its own block. It is a FAQ card. It can live on its own anywhere, okay? Now we have question row, answer row, labels. These things, you can't just take this label, pluck it out of here and drop it somewhere else. That's not gonna make any sense. It's got to live with this FAQ card. It has to. The question row. Well, you're just gonna extract this question row and use it somewhere else? No. It only makes sense if it lives inside of an FAQ card. So this is our answer's done for us. FAQ card, _, question row. And then I can do, and now I'm gonna do FAQ card, _, copy to clipboard, and I'm gonna say label. And then here, I'm gonna do heading, FAQ card headings. The only heading in a FAQ card, so this is fine, right? Now I'm gonna come in here, answer row, okay? And then I'm gonna come in here, this is label again. And then this is my answer, all right? And I've now given a selector to all of these items, every single one, and I can see which ones belong to what else. I can see that this is its own thing. This is its own thing, okay? This is a child of the FAQ section, child element of the FAQ section. I have I'm giving a lot of meaning and also structural hints as to how this stuff is all constructed, okay? Now, if this is the first time you've ever seen this, again, you're gonna feel like this is gonna take, Kevin, we might be here for 10 years before this site is built. That's the feeling you might get. It's only because all of this stuff has to be explained, and there's a lot of detail, and there's a lot of context, and there's a lot, because this is a very technical industry. But when you watch people who have practiced this process, okay, of structure, semantics, selectors, styling, scripts, or states, they go boom, 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 rapid fire, okay, which we're gonna show you as we work through the next thing. I'm going purposefully very slow. But when we get to the next application of this, you're gonna see, it actually doesn't take that long. When you practice and you repeat it over and over and over and over again, your brain gets very good at doing it and it becomes very fast, okay? All right, so what we're gonna do is we are going to delete all of these because we don't need them, okay? Bang, 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 bang. And then I should be left with just one, which is the one that had my selectors, okay? Fantastic. we're done with selectors. We are now going to move on to styling. Now we need to style. Okay, I'm gonna save my progress. Next thing I need to look at, back at our reference here, why don't we just get, let me bring my drawings back up. Why don't we just get this red box next to this red box over here, okay? Get the two big red boxes going. And I do that by grabbing my inner, okay? And coming down here. Now I could use the style inputs right here. People tell me, they keep telling me, they're like, Kevin, just use it because it'll make beginners feel warm and fuzzy and all of that. I'm not gonna, I gotta do my workflow, okay? But if you're a beginner and you like to use styling inputs, they're there for you. I'm just gonna turn them off. So what I'm gonna show you in every video is just me turning them off so that you at least know they exist and you can use them, but I don't use them. There's way more advantage to not using them than to using them. So I'm gonna come in here, and we did talk about this in a previous one, but if you wanna get things side by side and you're doing structural layouts, grid is almost always what you're gonna use, right? So I just display this as grid. I'm not gonna go super slow during this because this can't be a 5-step process tutorial and a CSS tutorial and a semantic. We'll be here for months, okay? So display grid, and then I'm gonna do an at media with the width of 768, greater than 768. We'll talk about this in just a minute. Grid template, columns of grid, and we'll talk about what's going on right here with this shortcut, grid 2, okay? So suddenly you see that I've gotten the side-by-side layout that I wanted to achieve. And I will also go gap of grid gap, bang, just like that, which it seems like it already has on auto spacing, so that's all good. Okay, so side-by-side, done. What just happened here, okay? We put things in a grid. We said, hey, if the screen size is bigger than 768, I want it to be a 2-column grid, knowing that it's a 1-column grid by default, and which means that we also have taken care of responsiveness. So if I look at this on mobile, they're gonna stack. Why are they gonna stack? Because they started out stacked. I only told them to be 2 columns bigger than 768. That's when it becomes 2 columns. Okay, so it's automatically mobile responsive. We're good to go. Now, I'm gonna do the next thing, which is probably styling these rows. Now, when it comes to styling, you can bounce around. You don't have to do one thing, just whatever makes sense to your brain or whatever makes you feel comfortable styling first, you could start there, okay? So with this row, for example, question row. Now, this is actually kind of unique, right? We have 2 rows, question row and answer row. But really, they're gonna get the same styling, aren't they? Aren't they? So you could also do this, fact card row. And then I could come down here, fact card row. And I have this generic class of fact card row, but I also have this specific class of what kind of row is it. Now, we're just hypotheticals. We're just doing philosophy. This is just CSS philosophy right now. Display flex direction of row, okay? Oh, look at that. Wow, that's nice, okay? I seem to have just gotten exactly what I was looking for. Just with a little, hey, let's put it in a row. I mean, we call it a row, maybe we should put it in a row. Okay, so there we go. Now, could you do this? Display grid. Could I do essentially what I just did? Media, width greater than 768 pixels. Grid template columns of grid 2, okay? Does put them side by side. Seems to be doing different things, but watch this. We could do maybe like an auto 1FR. Oh, that looks exactly the same. What should I do? I mean, should I do one? Should I do the other? Well, yeah, I mean, you can do whatever you want. There's no rule here, but I have said before, if you're doing content alignments, you know, flex is a good way to go. Flex direction row, kind of whatever you're most comfortable with, okay? Now, that looks pretty good. I mean, let's go look at here. All I'm seeing is we need like a bigger gap situation. Do we need a bigger gap? That's the question. Like, so now we really get into, you really get into like, there's 5 different ways to achieve what we're trying to achieve, okay? I've got let's see, question row. Okay, like I'm just seeing based on what I'm seeing right here, probably best to do just a bigger gap, right? That's probably the most straightforward, easiest thing to do. So you could just bring in like a bigger space variable for your gap here. And you could also, what I would see, this is why I write CSS, right? Because when you're using a capable environment, things like this, like width of greater than 768 pixels, right? I can just essentially say, hey, we only want that gap on desktop, you know? This would probably take us into the realm of container queries, but that would really overload the system. But look how that gap is a normal gap on mobile. Why? Because I told it to only be bigger on desktop, right? On desktop. And really, I would say even greater than maybe 1366 or something. So I can come in here or just 1280, like just choose a random. But now when I go to 992, it's a smaller gap, right? Because they're still in a 2-column layout here, so I don't really want the gap to be crazy. You know, you could tailor it like this. But these nested media queries are phenomenal. Just absolutely like phenomenal nested media queries. See, if you're using styling panels, you're not doing the nested media query thing. Nested media query is absolute game changer. You gotta get used to these. Make this a absolute part of your workflow going forwards. And I could do the same thing here, right? So where I did this gap of grid gap, I mean, that was already there. I mean, look, I could even cheat and put it in this one right here, right? Bang, space XL. Okay, so we're getting that. And then on mobile, I don't even have to worry about it. It's gonna go back to normal on mobile, okay? Because I'm only doing things up. These are like, this is like a mobile first approach almost to what we're doing. Okay, so next thing we're gonna do is we are going to just duplicate our fact card a couple times and just see if it looks good, you know? Maybe we need a little bit more space between the actual cards. If you need more space between things, use gap. No margins, no. You need to use, when you're styling, what I call a gap first spacing methodology, right? Gap first spacing. You know, we have class first styling. You need to use gap first spacing. I always default to gap. Why do I default to gap? Gap is more intelligent than margin and padding. It is an intelligent form of spacing. It is the only intelligent, well, not the only. There is space between, space around, blah, 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 okay? But margin and padding are dumb ways to space. Like, you should use those as like a last case scenario. If you can use gap, absolutely use gap. Okay, let's see. I got to check in on chat in just a minute. So I'm going to go to my FAQ card list right here, okay? And this is the list of cards, which means if I do gap here, whatever gap here I set is going to go between the cards, right? So we're going to go gap of space XL. Bang. Now let's come out. Look at this. I got a lot of space between my cards. No margins to worry about, no collapsing margins to worry about. You would never use padding because that breaks your box. If you've, again, done the lesson on everything as a box. So now let's go to the front end and let's look at what we've got. I mean, there you go. So we did our structure, our semantics. I mean, look at this. Right click, inspect, come in. That's already taken care of. Here it is. Oh, I can't zoom. Let's zoom in here. There we go. There's my, look, unordered list, list item, list item, list item. I got my semantics already taken care of. Then I did my selectors. Why does it matter that I did my selectors? Well, watch this. If for some reason I wanted to keep styling these, okay? They're all being styled because I took care of my selectors. I have global styling control over this whole situation right here, okay? All right, good. Now we're gonna move on. We're not done yet. We're not done yet. What comes after styling? Do a pop quiz. What comes after styling? The word question is smaller, so the title is more to the left than the text. Yeah, you can do these alignments you can take care of. There could be more little tweaks and adjustments, but we're trying to do big picture stuff here, not like, we don't wanna get stuck in the weeds too much. What comes after styling in our 5 S's? How are we doing on time? Oh, good. We have enough time to fly through the last example. The last S stands for states. I think I'm gonna go with states. I was gonna go with scripts, but I think states is I think states is probably a more overarching term, okay? So states would be anything that requires JavaScript, do it now. Anything that requires looping, do it now. Anything that requires expanded functionality on top of what you've built. Because if you do the 4 S's, the first 4 S's will get you to a static finish line. Now you got to do the dynamic stuff. The dynamic stuff, we can't call it dynamic. I mean, what is the 4 S's plus a D? What we can't be doing that, okay? States, I don't know. It seems like it's a good enough word. So we got to do states now. So the states would be, let's make this a component and then let's loop it. And then, hey, now we're rocking and rolling, okay? So what I'm gonna do to make this a component is I'm gonna right click, I'm gonna create a component. Bang, just like that. It's called a fact card because I already named it. Look at that. I need 1, 2, 3, 4 props. I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm gonna come in here, I'm gonna go question label. Actually, shit, do I even need, I don't really need 4 props. Like you could make 4 props, but I don't really need 4 props. Let's just go question and let's go answer, okay? So I'm gonna save here. I'm gonna take that little target. I'm gonna come over here, I'm gonna go bang, right? Here, bang, all right? I'm gonna come in, save, I'm gonna exit. I've just made a component. And so now I have these little inputs over here where I can go, what do you want to know? Question mark, and then this is my answer, okay? Sweet. Now I can duplicate, and then this one can be a different question, right? But I still have global control over my HTML and my semantics and my JavaScript if there's any JavaScript involved, okay? This is a different answer. Notice that these are off on the alignment. That's a styling thing that we're gonna have to fix. And it's actually great that I just made this a component because I can show you, what if I deployed 500 of these before I realized that that is a problem? I mean, the mess that you just made, the amount of time that you're gonna have to spend just knowing that you're an absolute chump, going instance by instance fixing that, right? If you didn't do the selectors, now thankfully this is, it's a selector solvable problem, right? It's just CSS, okay? What if it was a structural problem? What if you forgot an element and then you deployed 500 of these things? I mean, this is not the life you wanna live, my friends, okay? But I have the freedom to just come in here and I can go just redetermine, okay? How do I wanna approach these rows, right? This fact card row situation. Okay. Maybe flex is not the best way to go here. Maybe this should be grid. Let's see if we can fix it, okay? So let's go with display grid template columns of auto 1FR and just see. So auto is gonna essentially be exactly how grid was, or flex was. We could do something other than auto, right? This would be like, this is, by the way, the width of the first column, okay? What if I did like 10 characters or 8 characters or 6 characters? I wanna see where we get before we actually break. And where's our box? There's the boundary of our box. I'm really close right here, okay? So I'm thinking that is gonna solve our problem because it allows the space for both question and response, but it cuts them there, and then this next group starts at exactly the same spot, okay? So that right there, that little adjustment solves our little alignment issue that we just found, okay? And I was able to solve it for every instance because I did step, 3 selectors. I did the selector step. If you missed the selector step, like an Elementor Divi Beaver user right now would be just like slamming the side of their head as they copy, paste, like a fucking psychopath. Like, you don't want to live that life. It's not the life you want to live, You need a padded room for that kind of thing. See how like I was just like, oh my God, look, a little problem. Oh, let me just make a little adjustment. Oh, now they're all fixed. Look, it's like magic. It's not magic, it's just the process. L, okay? Look at how I can just drop these down. I mean, you could just play with the spacing here to get it however you want to. Okay, let's loop, because we're running out of time. So now I made my components. I'm gonna right click this, and I'm going to wrap in a loop. And that's gonna give me a loop, and it's gonna immediately start duplicating my things. But I don't have an FAQ loop yet, okay? So what I'm gonna do here, I've got a bunch of different options. I could go create a custom post type called FAQs. That's not necessary because each FAQ doesn't need its own URL. That's kind of overkill. If you have a builder where you can just do JSON loops, right? I could come into chat and I could say, hey, Dia, I need some JSON. Can you help? I like to use a little, talk to it like a human. It's not your bitch. It's just like it's like treat it nice. Treat it like kindly. It does give better responses, I believe. So hey, Dia, I need some JSON. Can you help? I'd like the JSON for FAQs for a website. I just need to be able to define a question and an answer. Okay? Bang. Let's just see what it gives us. Okay? Oh, all right. Question, answer, question, answer, question, answer. I mean, do I need any faceting? Do I need any categorization? I mean, if I did, I could build those things in. I don't need them right now though. So I'm just gonna steal what it gave me. I'm gonna go to my loop manager. I'm gonna go create a new loop called FAQs. And I'm gonna go with JSON data, and I'm gonna paste in my JSON string, and I'm gonna see the output here, okay? I can hop out, and I'm gonna come over, here's my loop. I'm gonna go into here, and I'm gonna choose my FAQs. Now, I'm only seeing 3 items. Seems like I'm seeing 3 items right over here. Seems all good. So loop FAQs as item, seems good. And now what I want to do is I want to go item dot, and I'm looking right here, question or answer is essentially my options, right? Item dot question, grab it, grab here, item dot answer. Now I'm looping through, okay? Just like that, magic. And I have a global spot now where I can go manage my FAQs. So here's my FAQs. I want to add another one, comma, paste. Here's my other one. Do you offer shipping? Hey, here's another question, right? And I come in here and I say, hey, here's another answer. And by the way, if you're thinking about, clients managing this, we're gonna be able to expose these, any of this JSON as inputs on the WP admin dashboard, right? Very easy to do. Client would be able to easily manage these FAQs, but look in, now I have another question. And the list just builds itself, okay? So now I did my states. I had to turn it into a component state. I had to turn the list into a loop state. I don't need any other JavaScript. I don't need any conditions. There we go. Okay, so we started with structure, then we took care of semantics, then we took care of selectors, then we did our styling, and then we managed our states. And I'm done, okay? And I talked a lot, so it took a while, but now I'm going, no need to create custom field groups, no need to do assignments, and by the way, this is an instant loop. It's not a database loop. There's no database that has to go crawl through to find the information. It renders instantly, okay? It's fantastic, fantastic. So what we're gonna do now is we are going to hop over to this one right here, and we're gonna see if we can just flow through, okay? And I'm not gonna go at light speed. But I'm definitely not going to do what we just did, okay? I'm not gonna explain the entire thing, because now we're in a mode where if you need to watch it again, you can watch it again. If you need to slow it down, you can slow it down. If you need to fast forward, rewind, you can do that, okay? I'm just gonna build. That's what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna build. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go into the Content Hub. We're gonna go to Pages. I'm gonna make a new page. We're gonna call this feature section Bravo. I don't know. Feature section Bravo. We're just gonna give it some generic name. Okay, feature section Bravo. All right, we're gonna create the page. I'm gonna hop over to that page. Here we are. All right, I'm gonna jump in. We're gonna close this one, unpin. so I don't get confused over and over again. All right. So I see I need block. That's just what I'm starting with. Block. So flex div, bang, bang. This is going to be the content wrapper, okay? So I'm gonna name it content wrapper. Naming, the earlier you start naming things, the better, okay? This is gonna be my card list. You're also gonna notice that you just, like, the same answers show up over and over again, okay? So with my content wrapper, I'm gonna need a heading, text, button. Heading, text, button, okay? So going to my content wrapper, heading, text, button. I'm gonna call that CTA. I'm gonna call that lead. I'm gonna call that accent, okay? Some people call it an eyebrow. Some people do whatever. Now I do need to make maybe a semantic decision in just a minute of should this be the heading or should this be the heading? I'm actually gonna make the argument that that should be the heading, okay? So I'm gonna leave that as the heading, which would actually make this the headline. Very confusing to some people, but these are two different things. This is a copywriting term. This is a semantic HTML term, okay? There's no such thing in semantic HTML as a headline, but there is in copywriting, right? So there's a headline, this is a heading. Sometimes to make it very clear, I call it an SEO heading, okay? Because it's not gonna look like a heading, but it is gonna be a heading, okay? All right, so we have SEO heading, headline, and then lead, and then CTA. And then over here in the cards list, I already know I need a card. Oh, not a section. Let's delete that, I need a card. So I'm gonna go flex div, that is my card. I'm gonna call it feature card Bravo. I'm kind of doing the semantics, which is part of the structure, you know? I'm already thinking about like the BEM part, or I should say selectors. I'm thinking about the BEM part already and how that's gonna work. So card list, feature card Bravo, what's gonna go in there? Well, I see things side by side. So immediately when I see things side by side, we're just going flex div, bang, bang, okay? This will be the content wrapper. This will be the media wrapper. If I have a media wrapper, I know I'm gonna need some media. I don't even need to go back and look at it. We're just gonna call that media. And then inside the content wrapper, what are we gonna have? We're gonna have a heading and we're gonna have text. Pretty simple. So I'm gonna go heading, text, and because I'm shortcutting, you know, I can go H3 here because I already know it's gonna need to happen. I'm gonna call this a description. We have a heading, that's all fine and dandy. So there is feature card Bravo. Next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna check, I got my card list. I'm just gonna go quickly through semantics. So SEO heading is an H2, that's good. Headline is good, lead is good, and CTA is good. That's absolutely gonna be a link. While I'm here, I can just throw a button primary on there, call it a day. Okay, so div, all that's good. Card list, feature card Bravo. I'm actually gonna go the article route this time, and then I'm gonna right click here and I'm gonna go convert to list, okay? And you could see here how the page builder, a competent page builder, does in fact just handle boring things for you. I don't have to worry about tags. I just, hey, right click, convert to list, I'm good to go. My article's inside a list item, everything's fantastic, right? Okay, now I'm already done with structure and semantics. I am now going to go through and do selectors. I'm gonna go into my list item, article card or feature card Bravo right here. Right click, I'm gonna go create BEM classes. That is a BEM block in itself. That is a BEM block in itself. Now I'm gonna come up here to the card list. I'm gonna go card list. And actually, I wanna make it a little bit more specific. Feature card Bravo list, okay? Feature card Bravo list. List item, I don't even actually care for it to have a selector. Don't even care. It's not a stylable item, it's a semantic item. So I have feature card Bravo list and I have feature card Bravo inside of that. Fantastic. I'm gonna come up here and I'm gonna call this feature section Bravo. And then I'm also going to add the same exact class. Here's our inner, okay? Feature section Bravo inner. And then here's our content wrapper. We're gonna go feature section Bravo and then content wrapper. Now, could I use auto BEM? Yes, it's gonna pick up the card list again. We are, auto BEM's only an alpha right now, so we don't have a way for exclusions to happen. But when we do, you'll be able to auto BEM and just exclude the card list and exclude the feature card Bravo situation down here. Can't really do that right now, so I'm just gonna, wrap this up with typing. So feature section Bravo, and I'll do the old school copy to clipboard, SEO heading. And then we'll come in here and we'll do headline. This does significantly speed things up. lead, and then CTA. And I've explained why I do the CTA. Even though I'm not gonna use that class, I explain why I put it on there in past trainings. Okay, so I have my content wrapper, I have my inner, I have my feature section Bravo inner, all that looks good. Fantastic. So there we go, I'm done with selectors. Now I can start styling. So I'm gonna take my inner. Man, you're gonna see the same shit happen again and again and again. Display this as a grid. Okay, go at media. Width of greater than 768 pixels. Grid, template, columns, grid 2. Good, fantastic. Let's go back out. We see that they are side by side. Are they? Yeah, that's split right down the middle, all good. Okay, I'm seeing that this card is trying to style itself. I'm wondering if I have the card framework turned on. Primary card style is dark, target, look at that. We had a bunch of card targets in there. I'm gonna take those out. And we're gonna get to a clean slate. Okay, we are at I'm not gonna go into the card framework situation. That's a lot of extra stuff, okay? So feature card Bravo, what in the world does that need to look like? So essentially, there's a couple ways to do this. I see padding here. I see this is gonna have to touch, which is a little bit of a situation. Nothing major, but I'm gonna start with padding of card padding, okay? Card padding, there you go. I'm using variables from the card framework. I'm not doing auto styling, okay? Border radius of radius. This is like a global site radius, can be just fine. And let's get the cards to be side by side. And I mean, eyeballing it, it looks like a 50-50 split, right? So I'm gonna go display grid and I'm gonna say grid template. I don't know what I need to do on mobile yet, so I'm not gonna worry about it. Grid 2, I just wanna start getting things side by side. I've got this content wrapper right here. I'm gonna go justify content to the center. That's gonna bring those down. I'm gonna go a gap of card gap, which should be a little bit smaller. How about divided by 2? There we go. And let's say card heading, bang, perfect. So I've got that side by side. I'm gonna give it a new background color. So we're gonna go background of, and I'll just, for right now, go like neutral dark. How about neutral ultra dark? Not enough. Neutral, yeah, let's do neutral dark. Or let's do base dark. All right, base looks like it's a little bit more refined for what we've got going on. Okay, fantastic. All right, so, I mean, that's basically what we're looking at right there. I'm gonna throw in a real image if I have one. Let's do that. That's gonna blow up my aspect ratio, which is good because it reminds me to come in and actually set this. Let's do like a 16:9 situation. Maybe a 4:3 situation. Let's do a 4:3 situation. Okay, perfect. And then we need to object fit cover that so it doesn't smush, you know what I'm saying? Okay, let's see how we wanna handle the image touching the sides of the card. Since that's a bit of a situation and I'm thinking time is money, I'm not even gonna worry about it. I'm gonna go over here and do these other things because if I get stuck on that for any reason, I don't want these other things to get left undone. So anytime you see when you're styling, hey, there's more shit I could actually do that I don't have to think much about, I'm gonna go do those. Because if I have to pause for whatever reason and I come back later, I want more things to be done, right? I could get caught up in this. I don't know how long, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, I don't know. So why don't I just go do things I know I can do, right? All right, so we're gonna come up here and an SEO heading. Now, you make a decision, right? Do you have a lot of these throughout the website? If you have a lot of these throughout the website, you might want a generic class. That has nothing to do with feature section Bravo, right? I would leave that class, feature section Bravo SEO heading, but I would come in here like SEO heading, and I can use this anywhere I want. And so what I'm gonna do is font size this down to text M, and I'm going to font weight it down to, I have variables for that. Font weight 400. It's not really liking that, is it? Okay, we'll check on that in just a second. Text transform of uppercase, letter spacing 0.025 M. I'm just guessing. This actually might be an S instead. text S, okay, good. This is going to say, what does that say? Features, features. Okay, good. This, showcase your best features. This is kind of where utility classes really come in handy, okay? So I will say showcase your best features. If I did something like class H2, it just looks like an H2. That's just automatic CSS. Like, it's just a thing that happens a lot, and so there's a shortcut for it. So that's good to go there. I'm really curious as to why this font, I'm gonna show you how to diagnose this in just a second, okay? Let me get some lorem in here. I'm gonna go with lorem 10, expand that out, bang. How about we do lorem 20? How about we do lorem 20, get a little bit extra tech, there we go, okay? All right, fantastic. Above 768, I want the gap to be space XL on here. Great, fantastic. And now I'm seeing, you know, with this list, dupe, I see my card list. I am going to need a gap in here. So let's do a gap of space M, and then card list, because it's a UL, its display needs to explicitly be set to flex direction. That's likely what's the, well, I thought that was the problem with it. Feature card, bravo. We'll inspect that too. Figure out what's going on with this. Let's go list item. Anytime you have list items in a flex list, they can be problematic because they're display list item by default. So making them explicitly display flex will solve some other issues as well. All right, let's hop over to the front end and let's diagnose. So we're gonna right click, we're gonna come in here and see UL display flex direction of column gap of space M. All of that is actually looking just fine. LI, display flex direction of column. All of that is looking good as well. There's that. Article. Those don't matter because they're, oh, I know why. Duplicated the articles instead of the list items. Bang, now all problems are solved. That was a structural problem, okay? Okay, fantastic. So now I've got my cards gapped out. We're good to go. Let's refresh. Bang, that looks all good. Let's quickly just do a responsive check. Everything stacks nicely, okay? Ooh, that's looking a little, right, squishy. I'm gonna come in here. Now, I need to do a separate training on getting container queries working. This would be a perfect container query situation. I'm gonna say, okay, I'm gonna look 1209 right here as our dimensions. I'm just gonna round that to 1200 to make it nice and even. So I'm gonna say at 1200 and up, we want this to be a 2-column grid. So I'm gonna snag that and go at media width greater than 1200 pixels, pop that right back in. And now we're gonna refresh on the front end. It's, look at that. Much better, okay? There we go, perfect, okay? Great. Now, hop out of here, let's go back in. So I've got this situation needing padding, center alignment, little background color scenario going on here. So what we will do, background, let's do the background first. We use base dark for the cards. I'm gonna use base dark for this as well. I'm gonna go with padding of something big, space XL, space L, space XL maybe, I don't know, we'll look in a minute. I'm gonna go justify all of this content to the center of this box, okay? We have more than the allotted number of cards that we need. Fantastic, I'm gonna look at the gap. Gap's not as big as I made it, so we're gonna go L, that's sweet right there. That space is L as well. I want these to be consistent. We're gonna go space M and space M, okay? That's gonna be nice and even. Let's refresh. Oh, look at this, just whipping it up. Okay, we're gonna come in here. I like this text, font size, text S, be a little smaller. I want this button right here. This is why I did this. Button primary, feature section bravo. You thought I wasn't gonna use this. Margin block start 1M. I want it to be a little bit uneven on our spacing right here. I wanna pop that button away from the text a little bit, okay? So I have even, uneven spacing. separate the CTA a little bit. Just do it with a little bit of margin. That's why we use gap first, margin second, right? Gap first, margin second. Okay, next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna come in and we're gonna get this, I'm gonna do that at the end, just to prove a point. Just to prove a point, we're gonna do this situation at the end with these images, okay? I have done essentially my styling, right? I can come in here and I can lorem this, lorem 10, copy, paste, paste. I just wanna see how this behaves, okay? Notice that our cards are creating the growth of this card over here, which is all good, but I want these to be smaller. Font size of text S, right? And then I want the line height. That line height's a little out of control. 1.2, 3, 4, something in there. Save, refresh. There we go. Now we're looking much better, okay? Now, if I've done styling, I need to do states. States, okay? What we're gonna do is we're gonna go card list. There's our list item, list item, list item. Delete the ones I don't need. Open this up. Feature card Bravo, create component, text, text, image, text. Okay, we're gonna go with heading. We're gonna go with description. We're gonna go with image, media, image. I don't care, whatever you wanna call it. Image, alt. Okay, all right, right click, bang, right click, bang, right click, bang, right click, can't do that. Can't do a right click on there yet. Okay, media, alt, little bracket situation, props.image alt, save, good to go. Let's get a default in here. Bring our horses in. Okay, fantastic. Are we previewing? There's our preview. Let's just save. Should be good. We're not gonna do a default on the image, okay? Export, there we go. So now I am free to duplicate my list items again, and now I've got a full component situation. Now I've got my headings over here. So feature 3, right? Description, there it is, okay? All this is working. Can I change the image? Swap that out, perfect. Okay, image alt, okay? Description of image, great, fantastic. Save, go to the front end. Everything's rendering. Right click, inspect. Semantics already taken care of. Article tag, clean HTML. Find the media. Does the media have an alt? Media. Ooh, no alt. Something broken in our alt. That could be in our image component. It's a little bit of a work in progress right now. Image alt, image alt, image alt. Props.image alt. Okay, looks the way it's supposed to. So we'll have to debug. Okay, so I got states. What else do I need to do? Is there any JavaScript required? No. Is responsiveness good? Seems to be. Okay, come up, 768, looking good there. Come up, 992. Not looking good at 992. Not looking good at 992. So what I'm gonna do, let's find out where this actually stops looking good. Oh, right there. Right there, 100%. So it's probably because of the stack at 1200. So I'm just gonna say, you know what? 1200 that. Problem solved, okay? Kind of. What are these feature cards? They're fine. All right, let's get the image situation worked out. I'm gonna come in here, back to 100%, and here we go. Right click, edit component. Let's go down here, see how we want to handle this. Okay, so what I could do, let's open this up here. We essentially need, I think I want to translate this the same amount as the card padding. Now I could translate it, or I could use negative margins. Is there a benefit to doing one over the other? Because then I'm gonna need to set the width at the 100% plus the translated amount, or even if I do negative margins, I'm gonna have to do the exact same thing. I don't remember how I actually did this when I did it. I'm gonna do it on the, I'm gonna start doing it on the media itself, and if I run into a problem, then we'll move to the media wrapper and see if we can get it done with the wrapper. But let's just do a little test. Like if I did margin inline end, which is the right side, okay, -1em, okay, that's not even moving it. All right, so let's do a translate of 1em. See how translate can just kind of bump things around? Now, if I translated it the exact amount of my card padding, it would touch the edge, wouldn't it? Now let's do another little test. I can do a width of 100% plus my card padding, okay? And do I actually get, you might even have to do max width on this, 100% plus card padding. I wanna make sure there's, okay. Well, hold on. We're getting somewhere. Min width, 100% plus card padding. Why is my okay, actually, if we're gonna do this, yeah, if we're gonna do, okay, hey, I mean, if there's no negative consequences of me doing this, that may just be the best way to solve it. What I'm gonna do here is border radius. I don't know that there's logical properties for this. Can you do border radius bottom right of 0? No, you can't. All right, I'm just gonna do shorthand border radius. Top would be radius, okay? I'm gonna copy that to my clipboard. That's top left, top right, bottom left, okay? And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my whole card. I know we're moving very quickly. And I'm going to overflow clip it, which is going to round that bottom corner at the card level, because if you round the media itself, it's never gonna perfectly align. You're gonna get an eyelash situation down there that you don't want, okay? Now what I'm gonna do is come in and say, you know what, maybe this is better at 5x3, all right? Okay, save. What are we looking like? What are we looking like here? Oh my gosh, I mean, look at that border radius is not rounded on the bottom left either. So let's hop back into our component and let's go to media and let's take top left, top right, bottom left, 0 also. Save, refresh. I mean, text is still centered. This has got its offset. It's perfect aligned with the amount. It's not affecting the gap. We didn't have to do a bunch of width shit. I'm liking it. Okay. Oh yeah, I did. Did I mistype it? Okay. All right. You forgot the image alt in the first card. Well, it's oh, did I not look? Maybe I just looked at the wrong card. Hey, good call. Good call on that. Maybe our alt is working, okay? This is image 1. I'm just gonna do this for debugging purposes. I may have just looked at the wrong card in the DOM. Refresh, right click, inspect, okay. Image, look at that, alt is working. I hate how it does this preview and then that overlaps the damn code you're trying to read. Very annoying. Okay, so got that done, that's perfect. I wanna debug this. Why is this font weight not listening? Font weight 400, I know why. Typography, Visby, because the bold and the non-bold are defined separately and these are locally loaded fonts. So I'm gonna come in here and, check this out. I believe we have, these are tokenized fonts. Heading font family, text font family. Check this out, because I don't wanna statically reference Visby. See how that fixes it? But what if I ever change it? How about just text font family? ACSS, done deal. Everything's tokenized in ACSS. You can actually do this, text font weight, and then you can do text letter spacing. Right? And then I don't have that actually set as a value, 025em. So if it's not set, then I can do a little fallback situation right here, okay? I don't actually know if that is text. Oh, maybe I do have text letter spacing. That would not be a good thing to do here because this is not all text. This is a special scenario. Okay, 3 5, 2 5, 3 5, 4 5, 5 5. Save, refresh, boom. I mean. Okay, let's go see all features. Perfect. Okay, so structure, then we did semantics, then we did selectors, then we did styling, then I cleaned it up with some states behavior, okay, with the components. And I've got a card, by the way, like let's look at what we've got. I've got a card that can either be in a list. Now watch this. Come down here. What if I did feature grid Bravo? And I said something like display grid, and I did grid template columns of grid 3, right? And then I put in a feature card, bang, okay? And then I did a little duplication of that. So boom, boom, okay? I'm not gonna do the list items and all of that. Or what if I made this, because I'm seeing, this is where you really need container queries. Okay? I'm just gonna do a 2-column grid. Look how this card, it was in, I created it in a list, but I can use it in a grid. It's still a component. I've got global control over everything. I can now use container queries too, if I wanted to. If I made this a 3-column grid, I could actually make this card change its layout based on the fact that there's not enough room in this 3-column grid without manipulating these cards up here, okay? Man, chef's kiss, because I can use this all over the place now. I have global control over the structure, over the semantics, over any JavaScript that's associated with it, perhaps in the future. I have global control over the styling. This is fantastic, right? Let's go ahead and let's go delete. Let's check on Gutenberg. How is Gutenberg looking these days? Let's do a grid 2. I'm actually want to know. Actually, I don't know. I don't know what it's going to look like when we go to Gutenberg. Okay, so let's take a trip back. I mean, hey, here's Bev. Awesome feature. You got to talk in a Bev voice. Description of no, I don't know. I don't know what Bev sounds like. Did I do anything to like? Did I have to map these things out? Did I have to like do any? I had to click any toggles? No. It's just done. This is the card description. Bev would probably write so much content here that it would end up breaking the layout if the layout wasn't engineered properly. Okay, look at my images growing. You know, you could support Bev. Yeah, does it look good? No. I mean, but Bev is gonna do what Bev's gonna do. You gotta be Bev ready. Your layouts have to be Bev ready. You know what I'm saying? Looks like we have a little margin on our list because of browsers. Let's go back in and let's go to the UL. It doesn't happen in Etch because Etch clears it out, but it does happen in like Gutenbergs of the world. Unless you margin of 0 and padding of 0, just clear out any default margins and padding. Okay, let's go back. All right, now we're good. Now we're golden. I mean. Okay. Yeah, you gotta have a Bev-proof layout. All right, let's do Q&A. Q&A. I'm gonna go. We're already over time. I get it. 11, 12, 1. We're doing like old school WDD live today. Let's go Q&A. Q&A. Does the framework help? First of all, let's just go to chat. Does the framework help? 5-step framework, structure, semantics, selectors, styling, states. Rinse and repeat. Doesn't matter what you're building. Rinse and repeat, okay? Is that helpful? Okay, good. All right, let's go Q&A. I'm looking for hashtag Qs. Ooh, oh, we got a Q here. We got a Q with the Qs. Does ACSS have utility classes for pseudo elements like before? No, because they're always, if you're creating a pseudo element, you're probably doing something very unique, right? And so a utility class would just give you some sort of generic outcome, which is not what you want. Typically, when you're doing pseudo elements, you're trying to do something very specific. Can you quickly show how you would build a transparent header and etch the caption? Well, we could do that in the next one. It's off topic for now, but you can answer later. What are your thoughts on offering based on site activation where someone can pay to activate the etch license for one website? I have thought about it. It's interesting. It's something we'll think about. Right now, we're only selling to people who know they want it. They're agency freelance. They know they're going to do a lot of client work with it. That's the deal right now. In September, when we release V1, we're going to move more to subscriptions. There'll be an option for like a single site license. Okay, that's when that'll happen. Does ACE, we did that one. Don't you think it's a good idea to use prefixes for classes? No, I absolutely despise and hate prefixes. So no. I know you don't like to use SEO plugins. How can you add fact schema to this page manually? I don't have a problem with SEO plugins actually. And I would use one that handles the fact schema for me. What if you want different spacing between? I don't like bloated SEO plugins. I don't like SEO plugins that treat me like an idiot. Like, hey, make the light green. Your meta description's not green, like go. No, like we're not in kindergarten, okay? We're not in kindergarten. I want an SEO plugin that just does the fundamentals of SEO. Okay, I want to just write my descriptions. I want to write my titles. I want you to handle the sitemap. I want you to do the schema for me, or let me customize the schema. Really, all the real fundamental stuff. Let's see. What if you want different spacing between the different elements, like the heading and lead closer than a following button? So I showed you how to do that. That is margin. So margin gives you extra, negative margin can tighten things up. For example, see, I just pulled that out of feature section Bravo. Not ideal. Let's go. Content wrapper, inner, card list. Oh God. And the drag and drop is not the best in here. Okay. Actually, as long as I don't save, I didn't break it, right? There you go. Hey, if you didn't save, it didn't happen. Okay. Okay. Let's go back into etch. All right, and we are going to go to features right here. Look, SEO heading for Bravo. I get to decide, do I want to tighten it up only in Bravo or do I want to tighten it up everywhere? Probably want to tighten it up everywhere. Margin, block, end, -1 M, -0.5 M. M is a fantastic unit to use for this situation, but look, I just tightened up my little situation right here. Gap first, margin second, you can't go wrong, solves all problems in the world. Solves world hunger, orphans, solves like a lot of things. Margin, gap first, then margin. Don't go margin first. Margin first creates world problems, okay? Don't want to do that. Okay, let's see. Creating an FAQ component and duplicating it, the recommended workflow for Q&A, or will there be a repeater like an ACF? Well, I showed you the actual best workflow, which is a JSON loop. Then you don't need either one. Yeah, you go JSON, because that's global. That's a global situation typically, like the FAQ. And I could absolutely go in here, and I could go to the JSON right here, and I could change the structure, and I could categorize them. Right? I actually wouldn't even need to change the structure, right? Category, and I could say like pricing questions, and then I would put a comma there. And then, so I could come in here and say this one is category of sales, all right, whatever. And I could categorize these. And then I could facet them and I could filter them and I could do a lot of stuff. Like, you know, you're not limited here in what you can do. Like I showed a simple example, but you don't have to stop there. You don't have to stop there. Okay. Why not let Etch automatically create the CSS selectors based on the name and hierarchy we assign in the structure panel? That's what AutoBIM is, but Etch is not going to, for one, like there would have to be a point at which you tell Etch, like, okay, I'm done. Like I got it. Like this is how I want it. Before we start creating selectors, because once you start creating selectors, and now people are styling the selectors because they got created, and then, you know, what the structure panel name changes again, how are we going to handle that? So the best way to do it is just you opt in for when you want the selectors to be created. And that is right click, create BIM classes. That is opting in for when those selectors get created. Okay. What have you decided on parity pricing for Etch? Probably won't be any. Are staging and live sites considered 2 licenses? No. We have domain exclusion. So if you're on an obvious development domain, local, blah, 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 then it won't count towards your activations. What SEO plugin do you recommend right now? SEO framework right now. SEO framework. Can you explain why you would recommend JSON FAQ creation versus an FAQ CPT? Fantastic question. Fantastic question. These are the kinds of questions we need. General rule of thumb. Let's go back to the FAQs, okay? Let's go, bang, now I'm back. Here we are, hey, we're back, hey. Didn't have to go to WP admin, we're back. So you can do a quick check. Here's the question you ask yourself. Do I need to visit the URL of one of the items? So if I don't need a URL for this question and answer, right? I should, it's not 100% scenario, but I should absolutely question the need for a custom post type. Absolutely question the need for it. If I don't have to go there, which means I'm not gonna need a single post template. I'm not gonna have a URL. Okay, well, why does it need to be a custom post type, right? By definition, a custom post type generates a URL for the item, right? So if you're in a scenario where you don't need a custom post type, or you don't need a URL, you probably don't need a custom post type. And now you start talking about what are the benefits of JSON. Benefits of JSON, like I explained earlier, if you care about front-end performance, way more performant than a database loop, where we have to go through the whole database, find that information we're looking for, pull it out, put it in, right? It's not that, you know, database loops are slow, they're just slower, right? Everything is relative. So database query, slower than a JSON loop, right? Easier content management, actually, because I now have inside of Etch this place I can go where I can, and it doesn't matter what page I'm on, what posts I'm editing, what template I'm building. I'm like, I want to do a quick adjustment to my FAQs. Okay, well, I can go in here. I can change questions, change answers. Like I said earlier, I can easily expose this to the client. Not right now, but I will be able to. And in a more logical thing than like a post. Because like, why would this stuff be stored in a post if it's not a post on the site? Like if it's not a URL that I'm gonna go to. It's just, the reason we're doing this now and we've never done it before is because before we weren't using capable tools. There was no tool capable that we liked that was capable of doing this. Well, now we have the capability. New capability, new use case, new workflow, right? Okay. How do you add custom fonts in Etch? Well, WordPress doesn't allow you to upload font files to the media library, so you need a plugin temporarily for doing that. There's a gazillion of them. You upload your things to the media gallery. If you have ACSS, you define them in ACSS, right? Typography, fonts, here you go. Define them right here. And then go over to text and use them. Headings, use them, right? If you don't have ACSS, then you're gonna need something like WP Codebox or Code Snippets Manager or whatever, and you're gonna load the @font face declarations in. There will be native font management inside of Etch. It's just not here yet, but there will be. But it's not that you can't do it right now. It's just, you know, some workarounds. Okay. Is there a way to get the alt text from the media library? Check docs, don't see a key for that. It depends on, I don't have anything on here, but I believe you can. It should be, if you go to the loop, okay? Like I go to any of these pull posts? This does, pull post, post type, post. I may not have any posts. Do I have any posts? Posts. I do have a hello world. It probably doesn't have a featured image. I'll do a video on that. Probably inside the community. We'll see if we can pull that from the, you should, if it's available in the JSON is what I was getting, what I was getting at. So if you look at right here, there you go. Featured image, is alt a key? Alt is not, so I don't think we choose what gets passed here as a key. WordPress does. And it looks like WordPress is not passing the alt, which means we're gonna have to find a way to do it as a workaround. It should pass it as, featured image should be like an object. It should be like this, where it passes a bunch of stuff related to the featured image. I'll have to look into that. What if the JSON contains like 1,000+ items? Yeah, I mean that's JSON. That's why you're using a loop, because you only have one thing to manage, right? Now, as far as the front end, see, I'm only managing one FAQ card. I don't care if there's 1,000 FAQs, but I do need to start thinking about how are they categorized? How are they faceted and filtered? How are they paginated? It is pagination, by the way. Can we just do that real quick? Pagination. I hear this pagination. What is a page? Show me the pages on your website. It's a page. It's pagination. Pagination, because they're pages. Okay. Glad we got that out of the way. Yeah, you would at that point bring in pagination, facets and filtering to make a good front end part of the UI. So yeah, but that doesn't mean we should switch from JSON. That just means the JSON needs to get more structured. Yeah. Will it be possible to do basic functionality like true false for JSON loops for customer editing? You can already do that. You can already do that. So for example, I could use an if condition to say if the category is pricing, we're going to show, obviously anyone that has category pricing, or categories not pricing, or categories pricing and sales. I could do any of those. I could also query the categories, and then I could query the post in the category. I think I've changed the structure a little bit for that, because you have to have nested JSON for that. So, but all of that is possible. Yeah, you could absolutely do that. JSON query thing is only in Etch. Pretty much, yeah. Do you have an idea when JSON loop will be extended? API calls, write to file, JSON read from file. I mean, it's hard to put dates on. It is toward the top of the list. It's probably something I would want. September, we're doing V1 stuff, trying to get V1 out. I would say that's an October, November-y kind of thing, feels like. But it is like, it's definitely high on the priority list for sure. So would you say that if the data doesn't need a URL, we should probably use JSON instead of CPT? That's what I trend toward, yes. That's what I trend towards. And this applies also, because you've got to start thinking about external things. Like what if FAQs are actually managed in a database outside of WordPress? Like maybe they have a CRM, and in their CRM, they have all of their like FAQs that their sales team uses for referencing. So I get on a sales call. Okay, they're gonna ask this. Here's my response to that. Okay, you know, like you always call and yeah, you get it. Okay, it's never a person that actually knows what the hell they're talking about. They're just reading a script. Am I the first person informing you of this? So they're reading it. Well, maybe that CRM has an API that exposes those questions and responses. You could actually query them in Etch from there, right? What you would do, here's how the workflow would look like. You can't do this now, but when you did the FAQs and I did source JSON data and I did JSON string, what I would actually have here is a second option that says API or URL or endpoint or whatever, you know? That's not determined yet how that's actually gonna work, but that's what you would choose. You would plug in the data that's required for accessing that part of the system, and then you would move on with your life. It would show you the output here of what you're grabbing, and you would see all the keys and all the values that you have access to, and you would go build your little loop. Well, yeah, you would build your loop here, right there, okay? So, I mean, that's so fantastic. It's so fantastic. There's so many cases where you have to get data from somewhere else, and that's a pain in the ass, and we're gonna make it really easy. And so yes, that answers this question too. So it could be a CRM, it could be a Google Sheet, it could be a whatever, it doesn't matter. As long as it gives us some sort of access, right? Then yeah, which, for example, Google Sheets do. Google Sheets absolutely do. That's how, like, anything that Zapier integrates with, all of that stuff is done with APIs, right? So if you could, if like you can go to Zapier, right? Look it up. Google Sheets automation right here, okay? So look at all these things that can be done with a Google Sheet to these other things. Google Sheet to Etch is 100% a possibility. Without Zapier, you just would natively do it, right? We could build in pathways for doing that. If we start with JSON and later turns out we need URLs, CPTs. Well, I mean, that's the thing. You know, there's certain things that it's like, why would that ever be a URL? Like an FAQ item, why would that ever be a URL? There's really no because even if you made that a URL, you're probably going to be publishing a bunch of thin content that doesn't get ranked anyway. So just from an SEO perspective, that really shouldn't be a URL. But if you're doing something like team, okay, now team is a different story. Very good chance that each team member is going to have a URL. Maybe not in the beginning, but certainly it's a possibility. If we rub our crystal ball, right, and look in it, we can see a pathway to them needing a URL. So you go CPT with them. You go CPT with them. That's it. So if there's a good chance that it's going to be a URL at some point in the future, you should probably go CPT. If it's just like, I just don't really see that happening, you know, I don't really see a need for it. Then, like, for example, I'll give you another example that I did on the last stream. Hours, our store hours. Why would that ever be a post? Why would Monday and my hours for Monday, why would that ever be a post? It would never be a post. I can't ever see a pathway for that being a URL. So I'm just going to use JSON for that. Like there are some things where it's not going to be hard to figure out. You're going to look at it and be like, nah, we're never doing a URL for that. Is Frames going to be integrated for Etch when V1 comes live? No, not right when V1 happens. But we will likely get started on that very shortly after. Will Etch ship with caching controls for server-like response request headers? Etch is what does ship mean? Like, it's eventually gonna have it. So you see Content Hub, Media Hub, Template Hub, Style Hub, Loop Manager, whatever you wanna call them, right? There's gonna be one for performance right here. You're gonna click performance and think about all the little switches you have in like perf matters, for example. that essentially deal with getting rid of all WordPress's bullshit. Those will all be there. Delay of scripts, caching related stuff. Essentially all the stuff you need to build an insanely performant website is going to be right there, site-wide, and then on a page-by-page basis as well. Go to the Content Hub, for example. Let's say you only wanted to delay a certain script on the home page, right? You might have a column here called like scripts, right? Or a wheel that you can open a modal and just have settings for this specific page related to SEO, related to performance, related to whatever. The UI for this is not figured out, okay? But you're going to have this granular level of control for things like performance, for things like SEO. Again, SEO is not magic. What do you need for the fundamentals of SEO for a website? Title tags, meta descriptions, schema, sitemaps, control over whether a post is actually indexed. Sorry, I was looking for the word in my brain. Like no index versus index, visible, not visible, et cetera, et cetera. These are all fundamental. This is not rocket science, okay? This is not rocket. You know what all the Yoasts of the world spend all their time on? Cute little fucking green meters. Like, oh, green, go, hey, good job, hey, word counters, all this other bullshit. And then they pretend to provide value. Hey, we scanned your content. You only said the target keyword 17 times. You should really say it 27 and a half times. That's all bullshit. It's all absolute bullshit, okay? You don't need all that. You don't need all that. If you know what you're doing, you don't need all that. So we're gonna do the stuff you actually need, minus all the bullshit, and then it's gonna be great. Where do you enter the JSON content in the loop manager in the query parameter panel? No. So there's no, with a JSON loop, there's no query parameter, okay? You come over here to the loop, and it's exactly what you just saw, right? In the loop manager itself. The things over here are called keys. These are called values, okay? When I go to the FAQ card, I stick a key in and I get the value as the output, right? That's it. So there's no PHP because JSON is not what's happening here, right? If you did a recent post, now we see PHP query arguments because we have to go get keys from the database in WordPress, and they have to be very specific keys, and they're looking for very specific values, okay? That's when you're gonna see this. When you're doing JSON, all you're gonna see, let me go back to my, there we go. My combo box not behaving. I go, whether it's the nav, which is also JSON. See, I just get the output, right? But these keys are not in this JSON, so it's not returning anything. But if I choose FAQs, where those keys actually exist, suddenly they snap into action, right? So when you're building a loop, all you're wondering is, what are my keys, right? So I go to basic nav, look, I have label, URL, and children. If I change this to item.label, I'm gonna get the label for the navs, right? If I did item.url, it's gonna output a URL. It's / page, about, right? The one you're on and actually looking at, it's not gonna preview. But literally, like, I'm literally looping through a nav now, just because I changed the loop. And I changed the keys. So if I put this back on FAQs, now I need to set the keys back. So item dot, and then that was what, question? Item dot answer. All right, there you go. You get whatever values for whatever keys you request. I can't seem to find a way to access data without using a loop. Is that the case, or am I doing something wrong? Example, NAP for client settings. Don't want to use a loop for every instance. No, yeah, let's go to docs. You want to go to dynamic data keys, okay? These are all loop related keys, but you do have user keys. and you do have site keys, okay? So let's go quickly to, I'm gonna go to templates. Actually, let me get out of, okay, we're good there. Let me go to templates. Let me go to the catch-all template. Let me go section. Let's call this a footer. All right, we have a container. I'm gonna dupe the container, bang. This is gonna be a bottom row, just like that. I didn't mean to zoom in. Okay, and then I'm gonna do for bottom row, well, let's do, I don't need to style it. Let's just go in here. So let's go text, let's go copyright, okay? And let's do site name. It's actually, I'll show you how to do this the right way. It's actually better to do this in code. I guess I'll try to show you how to do it here. Bottom row. So this would be, copyright text would be the best way to do this. And then I think you do need to access code for this. This would be the, we're gonna do spans, okay? So this would be the site name, okay? So we're gonna do span here. We're gonna do copyright, and then copyright. What we want the year, right? Let's do another span, 2015. I'm just gonna put in junk for right now. Site name, and then your text here. I don't think we need that. Okay, so now these spans, see, are gonna be exposed here, and you can actually label them here now. This would be the copyright. This would be the year. This would be, and here I'm gonna do the actual copyright symbol. What is it? Option 4, 3, 2, TM, trademark, F, G. There we go. Ha! Just guessed. Okay, I knew it was one of them. All right, so copyright, year, and site name. And then you can even give these classes, like copyright, let's go, I'm just gonna do the year. Let's go copyright. The only reason I put that in a span is so I could expose it clearly and like have the same visual hierarchy. So I'm just gonna do copyright _year. And then here I'm gonna go copyright _ site name, bang. And then copyright text, whatever, generic. Oh, I messed up. You can just edit it, it's okay. Copyright text, bang, good, okay. So copyright, year, site name, bang, bang, bang. And then even though this is one paragraph of text with editable things inside of it. And I can actually go copyright text, bang, and I can actually go display of flex, because I actually want to use gap. Flex direction of row, and I want a gap of 1 character, okay? 0.5 characters, something like that. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm basically plug and play, because these spans gave me selectable objects on the canvas that I can independently type in. That's why the spans are very helpful, okay? So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna see, site.name, without a loop now, let me close some of these, is a referenceable key, okay? So I'm gonna come in, give myself some brackets, site.name, etch blueprint. Now I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna see, look at this, site.current_date, okay? Now I'm gonna come in here, give myself some brackets, site.current_date. Oh, that doesn't look like a good date. .format, year, 2025. That is gonna be the current year output at all times, right? Boom, no loop, global keys, there we go. Okay, there's my footer down here. Copyright 2025 etch blueprint. Okay. So did that answer your question? Don't spans create accessibility issues? No, absolutely not. Let's see. Meant for their phone number and other things. I have it in a JSON loop, just confirming I can't access it without a loop. You will be able to soon. Here's how. So here's what you do. You're gonna go to Content Hub. See, you have default content types, which are posts and pages. You have your custom post types. You're gonna have custom taxonomies. You're gonna have custom field groups, and then you're gonna have custom options pages. You're gonna hit the plus sign. You're gonna create an options page called site info or company info or whatever. Then you'll create field groups. You'll assign them to that options page. You'll create a field for phone number. You'll create a field for whatever and whatever and whatever. And then you'll be able to go in and you'll have keys to access that options page data. Can't do it yet, but you will be able to. But using a loop and doing the JSON data, perfectly fine way to do it as well. And here's the thing. There's actually, it's gonna render faster to do it with JSON. Because when we do an options page, now there's an options table. Now this information's in the database. Now we got to go retrieve it from database, okay? That's less performant than a JSON loop. So the way you're doing it now is actually, it might not be the friendliest for the user, but. See, I'm actually questioning, do we even need options pages? Imagine this FAQs, right here is JSON, and I just click a button, doop, and it is essentially rendered as an options page in WP Admin. What do we need options pages for? You know what I'm saying? Now, is that possible? I don't know. We haven't gotten there yet. But that's what I'm imagining. And you would just need a way to control the types, you know, which I believe can be done. Here. It would need a little bit more aggressive JSON structure, because that's essentially what we do. Like the automatic CSS dashboard, let me show you this. I'll show you a little behind the scenes. You got to understand how powerful JSON is, okay? So this whole situation right here, every inch of this situation right here, okay? I got something for you. Hang tight. Wait, I don't want that. What's that? Let me go over here. Oh gosh, this thing is taken over my entire, what is that called? Start annotating, quit annotate, there we go, okay. Dang, took over my whole thing. Okay, let's go to cursor and ACSS, okay. Good, bang, okay. Go here, down right here. Every panel in ACSS, this is the card framework dashboard. It's literally JSON. So every input, ID of the input, title of the input, type of the input, what's the default value, what's the tooltip, what's the link to documentation, next input, right? Then you have inputs that are specifically, you have objects that are specifically designed to create a container, right? And types of containers, types of inputs. It literally, and then somebody asked, like, what do you have out of JSON? Well, you break it up and then you compile it. So every one of these is a dashboard panel. Then they all get compiled into essentially this, right? So I click this and these tabs, there's tabs, there's JSON objects for creating tabs, right? You can literally do almost anything. And then we're keeping the data in terms of these FAQs, like I said, out of the database, which is nice. I was literally wondering, could we have a bidirectional admin page that read writes JSON instead of being yeah, exactly. That's what I want. Plus, let's keep in mind what we're all doing here, okay? AI sucks at a lot of things. It's really fucking good at JSON. It's really good at JSON architecture, creating that architecture for you when you give it the requirements, filling out, reading architecture and then adding additional items from any type of source. If you're doing that statically, AI is really good at JSON. So if you're wanting or needing AI to help you, super easy. And then keep in mind, I just did it with Dia. You're gonna have AI right here. Click a button and you're gonna tell it, hey, see this loop? I wanna add 10 more questions and I want the questions and answers to be this, and it'll just add it for you. So like that's gonna be native in Edge. So you start thinking ahead and you're like, man, this is fantastic. So if you had this and you were like, I need a type on all these, right? I don't wanna do this. I don't wanna go. It would be something like this, input type, right? And you would say text. And then, great, fantastic. Why is it linting me? Input, yeah, there you go, good. Okay, input type text. And then this one could be input type text area. This could be input type image. And this is how your actual dashboard gets built out. And it's telling us which input to make it, which type, right? You could absolutely do that. So there's not many limits here. There's not many limits here. It's just what we build in. I think we got to get out of here. I mean, we're having an absolute blast, but I do have to do other things in life. I'm trying to cast a vision so you understand just how fun this is all going to get, and easy. Because that's what we're really thinking when we're coming out with features. It's like, what's the fun score and what's the ease score? And then there's a power score, right? You got to have the power. Power's 100. The power's always at 100. Okay, the power does. I'll just give you. We never reduce the power. Okay, power's always at 100, but we got to make the ease score high enough, and we got to make the speed score's got to be up there. You know, there's a lot of levers. But yeah, that's what we're thinking about. Last question from Manny. Can I order the items inside the default content type on the Content Hub? I'd rather have pages open by default, or at least to open the last visited item. Yeah, it's a really good question. I think I've run into the same scenario on the Loop Manager, for example. So obviously here I've got FAQs selected, right? And by the way, you can hit escape now. You don't have to go click up there. So like Loop Manager, facts, if I'm done doing what I'm doing, escape and I'm back, okay? But notice that every time I open it, it's back to the top. I've already put in a personal ticket, okay? For this to, if I was on FAQs when I left, stands to reason that when I go back there, I should still be on FAQs because I'm probably doing something else to the thing I was just doing. So that's gonna remember where you were in the Loop Manager. And then I think on the Content Hub, here's what I would say. I would like to look at the context of where we're currently at. If I am currently editing a page, which I am, stands to reason that I'm probably maybe gonna do something. I can just guess that I'm gonna do something with pages. Now maybe I'm not, but at least that's a good guess, right? It's better than just defaulting me into post, which probably I'm hardly ever gonna use in here, right? If I am in a custom post type, boom, just create a custom post type. So if I am in here, right? And let's just say post 1. Okay, so there's post 1 in my type. And then maybe I go here, okay? And then I go back into the Content Hub. If I'm in my type, if I'm in a post in my type, stands to reason I might want to create another one of those now, right? So maybe it should default to bringing me here. So I think it should be context dependent. And I think that'll solve a lot of problems. Probably even better than like letting you customize which one it opens to. Yeah, but then we lose all the plugins that make WP so powerful and easy for complicated sites. They would have to do so much work and have a lot of backing for plugin devs. I don't know. I don't know exactly what you're referring to. If you put the fat content in Google Sheets, you'll be able to pull it from there. Yep. Okay. I'm just catching up on chat. All right, it looks good. Anything else is gonna have to be a comment on the video. I'm not gonna come back to chat and look again, so comment down below on the actual video. Going back to the main topic of this video, like I hope that the 5-step framework is really helpful for you. I'm probably gonna send out some posts about that. Chime in on those posts. Let me know is there anything you feel is missing from the framework? Anything unclear? Is it actually helpful? Is it still too technical? Just give me some feedback on that kind of stuff. But love you guys. Hope this was valuable. I'll be back again in 2 weeks for WDD Live, but next week we'll do another Etch Live, so be on the lookout for that, okay? Peace, love you, see you soon.